Friday night, and the circuit, Janesville's cruising area, is packed bumper to bumper with the usual hot rods and motoring teens. But this night, kids say there's some uninvited guests, the Ku Klux Klan. As our cameras showed up, the hoods came off, but a confrontation was just beginning.
I'm going home to get a gun, and y'all will have to take me to prison.
There's a road in Pennsylvania that locals refuse to drive down after dark. A road where GPS systems mysteriously malfunction, where cult rituals allegedly took place, where the KKK once held power. They call it Cossart Road, but if you ask anyone in Chester County, they'll tell you its real name, the Devil's Road. Over the decades, people have reported everything from ghostly hitchhikers and phantom vehicles to hooded figures performing rituals in the woods. But the most disturbing part? Some of the horror here isn't legend at all. It's documented history. Cossart Road is barely a mile long. It's a narrow, winding country road connecting the towns of Chadds Ford and Concord Township in southeastern Pennsylvania. On paper, it's just another rural back road, but according to internet legend and local folklore, this is one of the most haunted locations on the East Coast. Here's what you'll find if you Google Cossart Road. Stories of a cult called the Cult of Straub that performed satanic rituals in the surrounding woods. Reports of hooded figures emerging from the trees. Allegations of animal sacrifices and occult symbols carved into trees. Tales of phantom cars that follow drivers only to vanish. Claims that the KKK used the road for cross burnings and worse. Strange feelings of being watched. Electronics and vehicles mysteriously failing. And the road's most famous legend: if you stop your car at midnight and flash your lights 3 times, cult members will appear. Paranormal investigation teams have flocked here. Urban explorers have filmed themselves walking the road at night. Local teenagers dare each other to make the drive. The police presence is so constant that they've installed cameras and regularly patrol. But is it because of paranormal activity or because of something else entirely? Here's where we separate myth from reality. And I'm going to be blunt. The real history of Cossart Road is more disturbing than any ghost story. In the early to mid 20th century, Chester County, like much of rural Pennsylvania, had a significant Ku Klux Klan presence. We're not talking about scattered individuals. We're talking about organized chapters with real power in local communities. During the 1920s, the KKK's second major rise, Pennsylvania had an estimated 200,000 to 300,000 Klan members. They weren't just in the South. They were in our northern communities, holding rallies, influencing politics, and terrorizing minority families. Chester County was a hotspot, and Cossart Road, it runs through areas where Klan activity was documented. Here's what we know for certain. Cross burnings did occur in Chester County. The KKK held meetings and rallies in rural areas where they wouldn't attract attention. Black families in the area faced intimidation and violence. Some of this activity centered around areas near Cossart Road. Now, let's talk about the Cult of Straub, the satanic cult that allegedly performed rituals here. There is no historical record of any cult by this name, no arrests, no newspaper coverage, no police reports about satanic activity. But you know what there are records of? The Klan, wearing hoods, gathering at night in the woods, performing ritualistic ceremonies, terrorizing people. See where I'm going with this? Over the decades, as the KKK's public presence faded and their activities became less openly acknowledged, the stories evolved. The hooded figures became cultists. The rituals became satanic. The real historical terror became supernatural legend. Local historians have noted this pattern. Communities often find it easier to talk about ghosts and cults than to confront their own racist history. It's not that someone deliberately created a cover story, but as time passed, as memories faded, and as the next generation heard whispers without context, the stories mutated into something more palatable, more exciting, less shameful. Okay, but what about the actual paranormal experiences people report? Are they all just misidentifying normal events? Or is something genuinely strange happening on Cossart Road? Let's break down the most common claims. The phantom car. Multiple drivers report a vehicle following them closely with bright headlights, only for it to disappear when they stop or turn around. Rational explanation? Cossart Road is narrow and winding. It's easy for headlights from a car on a parallel road or behind trees to appear to be following you. When combined with anxiety and expectation, optical illusions are common. The hooded figures. People claim to see figures in dark robes or hoods standing at the roadside or in the woods. Rational explanation? Confirmation bias is powerful. If you're expecting to see something creepy, shadows, trees, or even mailboxes can look humanoid. But also, and this matters, there were real hooded figures here once. That historical truth bleeds into present perception. Electronics failing. Cell phones, car electronics, cameras all reportedly malfunction on Cossart Road. Rational explanation? It's a rural area with spotty cell coverage. Many paranormal investigation teams use equipment that's sensitive to environmental factors. Cold weather, humidity, and electromagnetic fields from power lines can all affect electronics. The symbols. Various symbols carved into trees, pentacles, crosses, other markings. Reality check. Teenagers carve things into trees. It's not evidence of cults, it's evidence of bored kids who've heard the legends and want to add to them. But here's the thing. I've watched dozens of paranormal investigation videos from Cossart Road, and while I'm skeptical of most supernatural claims, I can't deny that people consistently report feeling deeply uncomfortable here. Is that supernatural? Or is it something else? Our brains are incredibly sensitive to environmental cues. We can sense when a place has bad history, even if we don't consciously know the details. Psychologists call it place memory or psychogeography, the idea that locations can carry emotional weight that affects how we experience them. Maybe Cossart Road doesn't need to be haunted by literal ghosts to be genuinely haunting. Let's circle back to the cult theory, because people are adamant that something ritualistic happens here. I researched this extensively. Here's what I found. No evidence found. No arrest records for cult activity on or near Cossart Road. No missing persons cases linked to the area. No animal sacrifice reports to local authorities. No cult of Straub in any historical record. Local police have repeatedly stated that the increased patrols are due to trespassing and vandalism, not cult activity. They're trying to protect both the property owners and the thrill seekers who might get hurt stumbling in the dark. Much of the land around Cossart Road is private property. The abandoned buildings people photograph, most of them are actually still owned and occasionally used. So, where does the cult story come from? Theory 1. Misidentified history. As we discussed, KKK activity got reframed as cult activity over time. Theory 2. Confirmation bias spiral. Someone makes up a story online. Others visit looking for proof. They find ambiguous evidence, shadows, sounds, graffiti. They post it as confirmation. More people visit, the legend grows. Theory 3. Active role players. Some paranormal researchers suspect that teenagers and pranksters intentionally dress up and scare visitors, knowing the road's reputation. This feeds the legend while keeping it real. The earliest online references to Cossart Road being haunted date back to the late 1990s and early 2000s, right when internet forums and early creepypasta sites started sharing local legends. Before that, mostly just local legend about the KKK history and general unease about the area. Let's talk about what actually happened here, not the legends, the history. African American families living in Chester County during the height of Klan activity experienced real terror. Cross burnings on their property, threats, violence, being driven from their homes and businesses. The Klan in Pennsylvania didn't just march in parades. They enacted real harm on real people, and places like the roads around Cossart, rural, isolated, easy to gather without witnesses, were where some of that harm occurred. Today, Chester County is diverse and generally progressive, but the history doesn't go away just because time passes. When we turn real historical evil into ghost stories and cult legends, we do a disservice to the people who actually suffered. We make it entertainment instead of education. I'm not saying you can't explore urban legends or be interested in the paranormal, but when the legend is covering up documented racism and violence, we have a responsibility to tell the whole story. Chester County has historians and educational organizations working to preserve and teach this history. They're worth learning from. So what is Cossart Road today? It's a quiet country road where actual people live and own property. People who are tired of trespassers, late-night visitors, and urban explorers disturbing their peace. The police don't patrol because of ghosts or cults. They patrol because the legend has brought unwanted attention that affects real residents. Is it haunted? That depends on what you mean by haunted. If you mean, are there literal ghosts or supernatural entities? Probably not. If you mean, does the place carry the weight of dark history? Does it deserve respect and somber reflection? Absolutely. The Devil's Road legend is more interesting as a case study in how we process historical trauma than as a ghost story. It shows us how communities sometimes prefer supernatural explanations to confronting uncomfortable truths. Every haunted place has two stories, the one we tell and the one that actually happened. Cossart Road's real story is about hate, power, and the long shadow cast by America's history of racism. That's scarier than any cult legend, and more important to remember. The good news? We can choose which story we continue to tell. We can acknowledge the dark history while celebrating the progress. We can explore our fascination with the unknown without erasing experiences of real people. So the next time you hear about the Devil's Road, remember, sometimes the real monsters don't wear hoods because they're cultists. They wear them because they're cowards.